Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on all the latest in technology and gadgets, all that fun stuff. Today, we're going to be diving headfirst into some fascinating tech developments.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about everything from the crazy world of AI chips to the mind-bending realm of quantum computing.
Those are some pretty hot topics right now.
Yeah, and of course, no tech discussion would be complete without at least a little bit of Elon Musk drama.
Oh, absolutely. Always got to have that.
All right, so let's kick things off with a company that's been on a bit of a roller coaster ride lately.
Yep.
NVIDIA.
Oh, yeah, NVIDIA.
Those folks who make the super powerful chips that, make your games look incredible and fuel a lot of the AI we're seeing.
Right, the ones behind all the graphics and AI power.
Exactly. So speaking of roller coasters, their market cap took a huge nosedive recently.
Yeah, it was a pretty big drop.
Like a staggering $600 billion in a single day.
$600 billion. It was a rough day for them.
Oh, man, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah,
what happened? Did they, accidentally spill coffee on a server farm or something?
Not quite. It was more like a major disruption in the AI world.
Oh.
So there's this Chinese startup, DeepSeek, and they developed an open source AI model, R1. It's been making a lot of noise because it performs just as well as the top models, but uses fewer, less power-hungry chips.
So it's kind of like getting the same performance, but for cheaper and using less energy.
Exactly.
That sounds like a pretty big deal, especially for companies trying to build out their own AI systems.
It definitely is. It's making everyone in the industry rethink the future of AI hardware.
So does this mean that NVIDIA's days are numbered?
Not so fast. Right after that drop, NVIDIA actually bounced back with record revenues, pulling in like $11 billion in just one quarter from their new Blackwell GPUs.
Whoa. Okay, so which is it? Are they doomed or are they dominating?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The thing is, the demand for NVIDIA's high-end chips is still incredibly high. Giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they're all pouring billions into AI infrastructure.
Right. They need a ton of processing power for all their AI ambitions.
Exactly. And NVIDIA is still the go-to source for that kind of power.
So even with DeepSeek's more efficient approach, there's still a massive market for NVIDIA's top-tier chips.
It seems that way for now. But here's where things get even more interesting.
Oh.
Those same hyperscalers, the Amazons and Microsofts of the world, they're also working on developing their own AI chips. They want to reduce their reliance on outside suppliers like NVIDIA.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of a double whammy for NVIDIA.
In a way, yes. On one side, you have DeepSeek pushing for more efficient AI models, which could potentially reduce the demand for those really powerful chips. And then on the other side, you have the hyperscalers who are still buying those powerful chips, but are also working towards creating their own solutions.
So NVIDIA is caught in this, tech tug of war.
You could say that. It's a fascinating case study in how a company that's currently dominating has to adapt to this rapidly changing landscape.
Absolutely. Speaking of changing landscapes, let's switch gears to a technology that could completely redefine what's possible. Quantum computing.
Quantum computing, all right?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing stuff. And we've got two major players in the game right now, Amazon and Microsoft, each taking their own approach to this incredibly complex technology.
Yeah, and both with the potential to revolutionize so many different fields, like drug discovery, material science. The possibilities are endless.
So let's start with Amazon. They've unveiled a prototype quantum computing chip called Ocelot.
Ocelot. I like that name.
Me too. Anyway, this chip uses something called cat qubits.
Cat qubits. Now that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does sound kind of cute, but the implications are anything but. These cat qubits, they're incredibly efficient because they leverage this concept called superposition.
Superposition, yeah.
Basically, this means they can represent multiple states at the same time, unlike traditional bits, which can only be either a 0 or a 1.
So much more powerful than our current computing bits.
Exactly. And by using these cat qubits, they can potentially build much smaller and faster quantum computers.
Wow, that's a game changer.
Right. They might only need something like 100,000 qubits to achieve the same power that would normally require like 1,000,000 qubits with traditional tech.
So we're talking about potentially shaving years off the timeline for commercially viable quantum computers.
Yeah, it's huge. But what about Microsoft? They're in the game too, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're taking a different route with their Majorana 1 chip. They're using something called a topological superconductor.
A topological what now?
Haha, I know, it's a mouthful. Think of it as a new state of matter that allows for even more stable and scalable qubits.
Stable and scalable, okay. I'm all for stability. But what does scalable mean in this context?
Well, imagine being able to fit 1 million qubits onto a single chip. The amount of processing power in a quantum computer with that many qubits is almost unimaginable.
Okay, you officially lost me at topological. But let's bring it back down to Earth for a second. What kind of real-world problems can these quantum computers actually solve?
Well, imagine being able to simulate complex molecular interactions with incredible precision. This could revolutionize drug discovery and help us develop life-saving medications much faster.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, or think about designing entirely new materials with properties that we can only dream of today.
So we're talking about major breakthroughs in medicine, energy, materials science. It sounds like science fiction is becoming reality.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. With tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and IBM all pushing the boundaries of quantum computing, who knows what the future holds?
It's definitely an exciting time to be following all this.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're on the edge of some major breakthroughs.
It's definitely exciting. But let's step out of the theoretical realm for a minute and talk about a company facing some real-world challenges, shall we? Tesla.
Oh, Tesla.
You know, Elon Musk, always the headline grabber, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's been making some waves with his political activities lately, and it seems like those waves are starting to cause some ripples in Tesla's sales figures.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, so his association with Donald Trump and his involvement with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, as it's known as, sparked a lot of controversy.
Definitely a controversial figure.
And all that controversy seems to be hitting Tesla right where it hurts, their sales.
Makes sense. People vote with their wallets.
Yeah. In Europe, especially, sales have taken a dip. In January, they saw a 45% decrease compared to the previous year. And even in typically strong markets like France and Germany, the drop has been pretty significant.
That's a big hit.
Yeah. While intensifying competition in the electric vehicle market is definitely a factor, there's a growing sentiment that Musk's political affiliations are, well, alienating a significant chunk of potential Tesla buyers.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, you're not just saying that, right? Is there any actual data to back that up?
Actually, there is. A recent Morning Consult survey showed that almost half of Americans now view Musk negatively.
Wow, almost half.
Yeah, and it gets even more interesting. 32% of U.S. buyers said they wouldn't even consider purchasing a Tesla, which is up from 27% the previous year.
Huh, those numbers are pretty stark. So it's not just chatter on social media. It's actually influencing people's buying decisions.
It really seems to be. And it's not just reflected in surveys either. There have been actual Tesla takedown protests happening in cities across the U.S., calls for boycotts of Tesla products, even Tesla owners replacing their logos to avoid being targeted.
Oh, wow. Sounds like a pretty divided reaction to Musk's political stance. Some sticking with Tesla, maybe drawn to his personality or something, and others actively rejecting the brand.
Yeah, a very polarized response. And it raises a big question, can a CEO's personal politics really have this much of an impact on a company's image and bottom line?
It's definitely a question a lot of companies are grappling with these days, especially as CEOs become more vocal on social and political issues. I mean, at what point do those personal opinions start to overshadow the brand itself?
Right. It's a tough line to walk. On one hand, CEOs can use their platform to speak out on things they care about, potentially attracting customers who align with those views. But then there's the risk of alienating another portion of the market, and obviously that can have real consequences.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure. And speaking of tightropes, Tesla's board of directors has been noticeably silent throughout all of this.
Ooh, yeah.
Shouldn't they be stepping in, maybe offering some guidance, or at least acknowledging the situation?
Yeah, their silence is pretty deafening, isn't it? It adds another layer of uncertainty to the whole thing. Makes you wonder if they're worried about Musk's actions or just trying to distance themselves from the controversy.
Right. Maybe they're just waiting to see how everything plays out, but that seems like a pretty risky strategy.
For sure. It's a fascinating situation, though, really. It shows how a CEO's personal brand can become so intertwined with the company's brand. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how Tesla navigates this whole thing moving forward.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears, shall we? Enough about the drama of the corporate world. Let's dive into something a bit more futuristic.
Sounds good. What do you have in mind?
How about we talk about haptic technology?
Haptic technology. Oh, yeah.
That tech that allows you to actually feel virtual objects.
Yeah,
It's been making some serious leaps lately.
it has. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about those rumble features you get in video game controllers. Imagine being able to put on a pair of haptic gloves and actually feeling the texture of a virtual fabric, or the shape of a 3D model, or even the resistance of a virtual tool.
It's like bringing the sense of touch into the digital world. I mean, the potential applications are just mind-boggling.
Totally. And it's not just for gaming either. Imagine like surgeons training for complex procedures on virtual patients, but with realistic haptic feedback. They could practice delicate maneuvers, feel the resistance of tissues, really hone their skills in a risk-free environment.
Exactly. The possibilities in healthcare are incredible. Or what about architects and engineers? They could design and test structures in a virtual world, experience how materials interact, how forces distribute, all before ever even breaking ground on a physical project.
Wow, that would revolutionize those industries.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about online shopping.
Oh, right.
You could actually feel the texture of a sweater before buying it, or the weight of a piece of jewelry, or even the grip of a new phone case.
No more surprises when that package shows up at your door.
Exactly. Say goodbye to buyer's remorse. But how does this haptic magic actually work? Is it all smoke and mirrors?
Well, there are a few different approaches being developed. Some systems use tiny motors, or actuators, strategically placed on gloves or suits. And these motors can vibrate or apply pressure to your skin, creating the sensation of touch.
Oh, interesting.
And then there are other systems that utilize electrical stimulation, which actually bypasses the skin altogether and directly activates your nerves to create those specific sensations.
Whoa, hold on. So you're saying I could feel like a virtual raindrop on my hand without anything actually physically touching me?
Exactly. It's like we're tricking our brains into perceiving touch in a totally virtual environment.
That's mind-blowing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And while it's still early days for this technology, the potential is enormous. I mean, that line between the physical world and the digital world, it's becoming more and more blurred all the time.
It really makes you rethink what's possible, huh?
It does. It challenges our very perception of reality.
It's incredible. But with any powerful technology, we have to consider the ethical implications.
Oh, absolutely.
As we create these incredibly immersive virtual experiences,
Yeah.
What does that mean for our understanding of the real world?
That's a really good question. I think that's something we definitely need to be thinking about as we continue to explore the potential of haptic technology. It's not all fun and games.
Right. It's a reminder that technology always comes with a set of questions that we need to be asking. And, we need to be thinking about the potential consequences as we continue to push those boundaries of what's possible. But let's put those deeper thoughts aside for now and come back down to earth for a bit.
All right. Sounds good. Back down to earth.
Let's talk about something that affects pretty much all of us in this increasingly digital world.
Something that affects us all. Intrigued.
I'm talking about cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. Yeah, that's always a hot topic.
It's like that ever-present threat lurking in the shadows of the internet, always there.
The digital boogeyman.
Exactly. And it seems like every day there's news of another data breach or a new cyber attack. It's a constant battle, and the stakes just keep getting higher.
You're not kidding.
Yeah. I mean, we rely more and more on technology every day, right? For work, communication, banking, even healthcare. And with all that reliance comes greater risk.
The more connected we are, the more vulnerable we become.
Exactly. And it's not just big corporations or government agencies that are at risk anymore. Everyday people are increasingly becoming targets too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, think about all the personal information we store online. Our bank details, social media accounts, medical records. It's like a goldmine for cyber criminals.
And those criminals are getting more sophisticated too. They're using things like AI, machine learning, all these advanced techniques to launch increasingly complex attacks that are harder to detect.
It's kind of scary, honestly. It feels like a losing battle sometimes.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a losing battle, but it definitely requires constant vigilance. And a bit of awareness goes a long way. I mean, the first line of defense is understanding the risks and taking steps to mitigate them, even simple ones.
Like what kind of things?
Well, using strong, unique passwords for every online account is crucial. A lot of people use the same password for multiple things, and that's a recipe for disaster.
Right, yeah. I'm guilty of that sometimes.
We all are. It's so easy to do, but it's really important to make that effort. Also, being cautious about what personal information you share online, keeping your software and devices up to date with the latest security patches, things like that.
Those are all good tips.
But it sounds like a lot of the responsibility falls on the individual, right? What about the companies and organizations that we're entrusting with our data? Don't they have a part to play in making this digital world a safer place?
Oh, they absolutely do. They have a huge responsibility to invest in robust cybersecurity measures, implement strong data protection policies, and really educate their employees about best practices. Right. They need to be proactive and think ahead of the game.
Exactly. They need to be actively anticipating those threats and building systems that can withstand these increasingly sophisticated attacks. It can't be an afterthought anymore.
It feels like we also need to have a broader conversation about cybersecurity ethics, too. Like, what are the acceptable limits of surveillance in the name of security? You know, how do we find that balance between protecting data and respecting individual privacy?
That's a great point. It's not just a technical issue anymore, it's a societal and political one too. And as technology keeps evolving, our legal and ethical frameworks need to keep pace. We need to figure out how to utilize the power of technology without sacrificing our fundamental rights and freedoms.
Absolutely. It's definitely a complex and ever-changing landscape.
For sure. But it's a conversation we can't afford to ignore.
Right. I mean, the consequences of a major cyber attack, whether on a company, a government agency, or an individual, could be truly devastating.
It's a sobering thought, but it's also a call to action, you know?
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in creating a safer, more secure digital world. It's on all of us.
Man, from AI chips to quantum computing to the ethical dilemmas of a hyper-connected world, it's been quite a journey through the tech landscape today, hasn't it?
We've definitely covered a lot of ground, from those really exciting advancements to some of the potential pitfalls. Yeah.
You know, what strikes me is that even though we've talked about all these seemingly totally different topics, there's kind of a common thread running through all of them.
Oh, what's that?
Disruption. It's everywhere you look in the tech world right now.
Disruption, yeah.
NVIDIA's facing disruption from some unexpected players. Quantum computing is poised to disrupt entire industries. And even Elon Musk, who's, kind of a disruptor himself, is experiencing disruption from his own actions. It's kind of wild.
You've got a point there. Disruption really does seem to be the driving force behind so much of the innovation we're seeing. It pushes boundaries, challenges the status quo, but with that comes a lot of uncertainty and some big questions about what the future holds.
Yeah, how do we navigate this constant state of change? How do we even begin to prepare for a future that's being rewritten every single day? It's a lot.
Big questions indeed. And I think they're questions we all need to be asking ourselves, whether we're, tech enthusiasts, investors, or just everyday people trying to make sense of it all.
It definitely highlights the importance of staying informed, right? Engaging in these conversations and really thinking about the bigger picture, the implications of all these technological advancements.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, technology isn't just about the gadgets and gizmos themselves. It's about the impact they have on our lives, our societies, our world. It's about us.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the tech world, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to chew on.
All right, I'm listening.
In this era of constant disruption, where the only thing that seems certain is change itself, what role do we each want to play in all of this? Are we just passive observers, kind of getting swept along by the current of innovation? Or are we active participants, actually shaping the future with our choices and actions? What do you think?
That's a really thought-provoking question, and honestly, I think it's one that each of us has to answer for ourselves. The future of tech, it's not predetermined. It's a tapestry, and we're all weaving it together thread by thread with every choice we make.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.